So are you in factions then? That's what I heard. Yeah. Good job, guys. I hear abnegation's not getting much love, but that's fine. Alright, I'm going to read for you guys. I'm going to read something that is not going to be published anywhere probably ever. Because it's a deleted scene from one of the short stories about 4. So, yeah. So this is a moment, just to get us started, warm up, so you are all comfortable asking questions. This is the moment when Triss jumps into the net, but it's from Tobias' perspective. So. Let's go. Okay. I'm not very good at reading in front of people, so I'm going to do my very best. Okay. I check my watch. The first initiate should be jumping any minute now. The net waits beside me, wide and sturdy and lit from above by the sun. The last time I was here was last year's choosing day, and before then, the day I jumped. I didn't want to remember the feeling of inching toward the edge of the building, my mind and my body going haywire with terror, the awful drop, the helpless flailing of limbs, the slap of the net fibers against my arms and neck. Lauren says to me, if you were up for some serious studying, we could use you in tech services. If you're recruiting, you should talk to Zeke. He's much better at it than I am. Yeah, but Zeke doesn't know when to shut it, she says. We don't recruit for skill so much as compatibility. Spend a lot of time together. I grin. Zeke does like to surround himself with chatter, but that's never bothered me. Sometimes it's nice not to worry about providing any conversation. Lauren plays with one of the rings on her eyebrow, and we wait. I try to crane my neck to see the top of the building from the ground, but all I can see is sky. Bet you it's one of my Dauntless-borns, she says. It's always a Dauntless-born, no bet. They have an unfair advantage. They usually know what's at the bottom of the jump, though we try to keep it from them as much as possible. The only time we use this entrance to headquarters is on choosing day, but the Dauntless are curious. They explore the compound when they think no one is watching. They also grow up cultivating in themselves the desire to make bold moves, to take drastic action, to commit themselves fully to whatever they decide to do. It would take a strange kind of transfer to know how to do that without having been taught. Then I see her. Not a black streak like I was expecting, but gray, tumbling through the air. I hear a snap of the net pulling taut around the metal supports, and it shifts to cradle her. For a second I stare, amazed, at the familiar clothing that she wears. Then I put my hand out into the net so she can reach it. She wraps her fingers around mine and I pull her across. As she tumbles over the side, I grab her shoulders to steady her. She's small and thin, fragile looking, like the impact with the net should have shattered her. Her eyes are wide and bright blue. Thank you, she says. She may look fragile, but her voice is steady. Can't believe it, Lauren says, with more dauntless swagger than usual. Stiff? The first to jump? Unheard of. She's right. It is unheard of. It's unheard of for a stiff to join Dauntless, even. There were no abnegation transfers last year, and before that, for a long time, there was only me. There's a reason why she left them, I say, feeling distant from the moment, from my own body. I pull myself back and say to the initiate, "What's your name?" She hesitates, and I feel for a strange, brief moment like I know her. Not from my time in abnegation, not from school, but on a deeper level. Her eyes and her mouth searching for a name, dissatisfied with the ones she finds, just like I was. My initiation instructor gave me an escape from my old identity. I can give her one, too. Think about it, I say, smiling a little. You don't get to pick again. Triss, she says, like she's already sure of it. Triss, Lauren says. Well, make the announcement. She's my initiate, after all, this transfer from abnegation. I look over my shoulder at the crowd of Dauntless members who have gathered to watch the initiates jump, and I announce, first jumper, Triss. This way, they'll remember her, not for the gray that she wears, but for her first act of bravery, or insanity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Everyone cheers, and as the sound fills the cavern, another initiate plummets into the net with a blood-curdling scream, a girl dressed in candor black and white. This time, Lauren is the one to reach across the net to help her. I touch a hand to Triss's back to guide her toward the stairs, in case she's not as steady as she seems. Before she takes the first step, I say, "Welcome to Dauntless." All right. So, hopefully you're all eased in. And we're going to do some Q&A time, and then I'm going to sign your books. It's going to be a good day. So does anyone have non-spoilery questions?
Yeah. You finished this series now, but any future books, do you think that you'll continue in the dystopian world, or have you still a lot more stories to tell in that world, or are you going to venture somewhere else?
I think mostly people have one dystopian world in them, and this was mine. So it's done. But I still love writing for this category, this age group. And so I'm going to continue to write young adult books, but I don't really know what, because I haven't seen what works yet. So I have to play around, and that's what I'm going to be doing this year. And movies stuff, but less important. Mine? Mine's abnegation. Hey! I guess I don't really fit there if I'm doing that gesture. Or wearing leather pants. But yeah, they're the one I would choose. I think mostly because no one would choose them, so I feel like, underdog! Woo! Yeah. Comic-Con was crazy. So many people in all age. I have never stood in front of a crowd of that many people, and it was incredibly nerve-wracking. But I did it with all the cast the whole day, so it was fun because they're really entertaining and funny because that's like their job is to perform. Mine is not. So, so it was really great. It was exciting. The thing is, in that hall with all those people, it's like acoustically dead at the front, so I couldn't hear anything. Like, if anyone was reacting at all, I had no idea. And also, when I turned around to look at the footage, I was, like, staring up at Theo and Shailene's, like, distorted faces. So he looked like he had a giant chin. I think I poked him, and I was like... So it was good. It was a good experience all around.
What's your favorite book? It's not one that you've read, just overall.
My favorite book? It's like asking to pick a favorite child. I'm trying to think. The best one I've read recently. Does that work? Okay. I just finished reading The Prodigy by Marie Lu, the sequel to Legend. Awesome. Great series. Everyone should read. But the one I've read the most times, the series I've read the most times, is Harry Potter.
Kind of unrelated, but what's your favourite part about Ireland so far?
My favorite part about Ireland? The tea? So in the States, when you ask for tea, they give you a bag of Lipton in a cup and don't give you any sugar or milk. So it's gross. So when I came here, they're like, would you like some tea? I'm not going to try to do the accent. I was like, yes! And it was the best tea ever! So I love it. But also, I love that you guys have like 4 seasons in one day. Yesterday I went out, it was sunny. I came back, I was soaking wet. I actually do like that. It's unpredictable. It's great. Yeah. The people are growing on me. I did not choose her. Since I'm not a movie person, I didn't pick any of them. But I was happy when they did. They told me that they were going to approach her, and I'd seen her capture authentic adolescence in The Descendants. So I was pretty excited to see what she would do. And I know she's like tall and not blonde, but she did a great job of convincing everyone that she was exactly Triss. So I'm proud of her. She's great. Right there.
What inspired you to start the series?
What inspired me? I was in my psychology class freshman year of college, and I was learning about exposure therapy, which is a way of treating people with anxiety and phobias, in which they're repeatedly exposed to the thing that scares them until they stop being afraid of it. It really works. And the dauntless come from this idea of using exposure therapy to create fearlessness in people who are healthy. They don't have like extreme fear. That's what the fear simulations are. They're a way of safely exposing people to the darkest parts of them so that they can overcome it. So I loved that idea, and then I built the rest of the world to fit around Dauntless, kind of. And then it took on a life of its own, but that's how it started.
I heard that they're going to start filming Insurgent in this April, and Uriah's going to be in it. So, do you have any like actors in mind that you know?
For Uriah?
Yeah.
No. They were approaching people for Divergent because they were going to cast him, and then they couldn't find the right person, and they wanted to make sure he was really good because he's got a much bigger role in the other things. So they were approaching some cool people. I can't tell you who they are because I'm not allowed. But you heard that it's filming in April. Well, that was nice. We'll see if that actually happens. Yeah.
Are any of the fears in the book your fears, like heights or moths?
Moths. Stop poking. Heights, yes. Swarms of creatures, yes. I'm trying to think of the other. I mean, I'm afraid of a lot. So, but the heights one was important because I can easily capture in my mind the idea, like the feeling that you get when you're on a high place because I'm afraid of it. So I think that's why heights feature so prominently in the book, because I can remember how to describe them better than other things I haven't experienced. So it's very vivid for me. Okay.
In Allegiant, did you always know that you wanted to write it from Ford's perspective, or did you try other characters too?
I wanted it just to be from Triss's perspective, with, some adjustments. But it didn't work. I tried, and it just was showing this really narrow, kind of pale version of the world that I wanted to create. So I did think about other perspectives. I tried like weird retroactive journal entries from Triss's mom's perspective to like add world building. Did not work. So they're kind of in there anyway, but just a few, not like every other chapter. Should be a lot of journals. I did think about Caleb. It didn't work either. I couldn't figure out what he would sound like, and I couldn't get him into the places that he needed to go. So it ultimately landed on 4. I also knew what his voice sounded like, kind of, from writing a scene from his perspective earlier. So it was kind of a natural choice. Also, I don't know, he's interesting, so it's fun. Whichever you want. Pardon?
Which character can you relate to the best?
Oh, I think all the characters have little pieces of me inside them. Otherwise, I don't know if I would be able to really write about them. So, who I relate to the best kind of depends on the day, like when you ask me. I have historically related the best to Tobias. I mean, aside from the whole like beating people up, kind of like masculine, like sexy thing. Like I don't do that. But in the way he processes things emotionally, I think it's similar to mine. So, yes.
In relation to how you ended it, were you always going to end the series that way? And after seeing people's reactions to it, do you have any regrets, or are you happy?
I was always going to end it that way. I remember talking to my editor about how it would end right after writing the draft of Divergent, right after finishing revising it, and she said, "Don't tell anyone." And after seeing people's reactions, I do not regret it. For me, it felt like the only option, the most honest way of telling the story, and the one that was the most true to Triss's character, and also the one that completed her development as a human being. So I know people reacted mixed with intensity. I'm glad that they care so much about the series and about the characters that they reacted that way, but no, I don't regret it.
Do you think concerning the ending, was it like to make a point? Because a lot of like young adult books these days are sort of ending like not with a sort of happy ending, and it's like sort of to make a point that maybe like life isn't gonna always be good for us, but like we will have like high points in our life and stuff.
Right. I don't think there's really. I don't try to make points very often. I mean, I try to avoid making points. The thing is, it's hard to explain without spoiling everything. So let me just say this. Each book is structured the same way, but with different results, because of the intentions behind the actions that are taken. I feel like we are speaking in code. And I knew that inevitably, when Allegiant was structured this way, what would come of it. Unless I reached in with my godly authorial hand and like saved the day, but I think that's kind of cheap. Didn't want to do that because I really trust you guys, my readers, to handle things, even if you don't like them or think that they were done that well, which is you're free to think, but I do think you can handle it. The truth. So I'm trying to think if I answered your whole question. But yeah.
What are your favorite and least favorite parts of being a writer?
My favorite and least favorite part? My favorite part, I think, is when people read it and they like it for the same reasons that I liked it, which happens all the time because it's a reminder, that you're not alone, that you're not the only one with these thoughts or these likes and dislikes, or who has met people who are like this, or it's just it's a really comforting, like we're all in this together kind of thing. My least favorite part, I guess, is I don't know. I think the exact opposite. When people don't connect, when they don't like or get or respect what you've done, which everyone is allowed to have an honest reaction to work, but as the person creating that work, it's not fun to hear when people don't like it. So, that's a challenge. But, I mean, you have to take the good with the bad. And if no one disliked it, then it would probably mean that no one liked it that much, because it's creating like a really mild, neutral reactions, which is not what you want when you write something. So, there.
If you were to rewrite the whole thing, are there any other factions or traits that you'd like to add in?
Other factions? Oh. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a lot, because it wasn't just which traits to choose. It was like, what traits create a whole culture around them. And I think you can kind of do that with most virtues. But to me, this world was how I would have done it if I were the god of Divergent Universe, which I guess I am. But for me, it was the best way to address like all the different parts of human nature, what people are inclined towards when they're doing their best. So I don't know if I would have chosen any different ones. There are some things I would have done differently, but that's probably not one of them. But sorry, I'm trying to be even here. Okay.
What scene in Divergent were you most excited to see translated into film?
The scene in Divergent that I want to see translated is the fear landscape. Because, first of all, it's cute. It's cute. Second of all, that was the part I saw the least about, because it's all in green screen. So I saw like the room where they did it, and it's just like green walls. And I want to see what they do with the special effects there. So, and I love like the creepy factor of it. So it'll be fun, I think. Let's see. There's someone who screamed at me.
That was me.
You said before that there was a character who you regretted killing off earlier on in the series. I was wondering if you felt about it.
I think I could have used either her dad. I was like, why? I could have been so much with him. Sometimes I think about Will. It was just a lot, and then she reacted really extremely, which I think worked for me as like writing book 2. That helped that it was so extreme. But sometimes I've thought about like, what are the possibilities for keeping that person? Like, what about the dramatic tension of having her father deal with her in the wake of what she had become or what she had done. He never really got to explain his kind of like harsh reaction to her choice, and I kind of wished that there was a little more like angst between them. And also that whole thing about like young adult characters not having parents, like I wanted to maybe see what I could do with him, but also Will just because, oh, but, well. Yeah. Am I going to do anything special to celebrate? I don't know, when the book got published, I jumped into a tub of mini marshmallows. So I feel like I'd have to be inspired to do something like that again. But I can't just like pick some random substance and jump into it, because that's like a thing, and then every time something big happens, I have to find a new substance to show it. So we'll see. But as far as like regular normal celebrations, I think I'll probably go on a vacation. It'll be fun, maybe Iceland. That would be cool. Yeah. I could go to Ireland. There's more to see. Are we good? 2 more? Okay. We have time for 2 more. Oh my god. Yeah.
Hi, among your books, which one took you the longest time to write, and which one took you the longest?
Divergent was the shortest, because I wrote it totally free of pressure. So it was just like in my parents' house in my jammies. And I had like a short period of time to write it because I was in school, so it's like 40 days break. It was a long break, but yeah. And I wrote most of it in that time, but I revised it for a long time. But it was less than a year all together, I would say. Maybe like 9-10 months. But Allegiant took the longest because it was the hardest. So that took 2 years probably altogether because I was working on it while Insurgent was coming out. So that's kind of how the timeline works. Yeah, okay. This is awful. 1 more. Feel free to ask me questions in the signing line, by the way, if you have burning questions. Okay. What do you think?
When you were growing up, was there any authors that really inspired you to become a writer?
Any authors that inspired me? I really started writing because I couldn't play pretend anymore because I was too old. And that's embarrassing. You know, there's always one kid who like keeps doing it, and it's like, I didn't want to be that kid. So that's kind of what really inspired me. It's just like I couldn't not do it. But I did read. I was always very touched by Lois Lowry's books, by Madeline L'Engle, by Harry Potter. And I also read a lot of sci-fi when I was young. I read the Animorphs series. I don't know if anyone knows what those books are. Yeah. And I read Dune by Frank Herbert, and I read Ender's Game, Orson Scott Card. So those are some of the books I was exposed to at a young age, and I think that informed my love for science fiction, which then, fed into this like dystopian, which is a little sci-fi light, but still. Yeah. Okay, so questions in the signing line. It'll be fun. Thanks, guys.
Okay.